Hello everyone, so we're going to take a look at the eye today. I've prepared a 3D model and we're going to follow light as it goes through each layer of the eye, and we're going to talk about it as it goes through. We're going to start with the external portion here. We're going to start with the tunica fibrosa. That's going to be made up of the sclera, which is the white portion of your eye. Right above the sclera is going to be your conjunctiva, which is a very thin mucous membrane. It's made up of non-keratinized cells, so they're very loosely arranged. And that same material is actually going to form your cornea. That is keratinized cells. They're very organized, going to be very clear, letting light in through your eye. Where those meet is going to be the limbus, which here kind of looks like a little whitish ring. We're also going to look at the upper eyelid, the lower eyelid, your eyelashes, and there at the base of your eyelashes are going to be these little glands, the meibomian glands, which are going to create that lipid layer of your tear film. And those are going to keep your eye well hydrated and moist. Next, we're going to take a look at more of the inside part of the eye. So we're going to get rid of that. Here you can see your bones, the temporal bones, the zygomatic, the maxilla bones, also forming the orbit. Next, we're going to take a look a little deeper inside. Here we're going to see the muscles. We're going to take a look at your lacrimal system. In blue, right there, you're going to see your lacrimal gland. That's going to create the aqueous portion of your tear film. And also when you cry, your tears are going to come from this gland. So as you cry or as your eye just creates that tear film, it's going to cover the surface of your eye, and then it's going to make its way over here to these little tubes, and it's going to drain into your nasolacrimal drain, into that duct. So whenever you're crying and you get a runny nose, interestingly enough, it's because it's draining out through this nasolacrimal duct. Next, we're going to take a look at these muscles. Next, we're going to take a look here at the lateral rectus. That's going to pull your eye outward. Next, we're going to look at the medial rectus. That's going to pull your eye inward. Was just giving you there a different perspective since it was kind of hard to see. Your superior rectus is going to pull your eye upwards, and then your inferior rectus, which again is a little hard to see, so here's a different perspective on that one. And when that one contracts, it's going to pull your eye downward. Next, we're going to take a look at your superior oblique. That's going to rotate your eye. It's a little hard to see animated. And then your inferior oblique is going to also rotate your eye kind of downward. Next, we're going to take a look at the inside portion of your eye. And again, we're going to follow light as it goes in, and we're going to cover each layer as light hits it. So the first layer we're going to talk about here is the cornea. It's going to be highlighted in blue, and that's going to be a very clear layer. It's actually going to do the majority of the focusing of the light for your eye. So it's going to be very clear. It's the first part of the eye that light's going to hit. Here again is the sclera, which is that white portion of your eye, which is going to actually encompass the globe. It's going to keep everything within it. Next, we're going to look here at the anterior chamber. The anterior chamber is going to be filled with that aqueous humor, which is that very thin, runny fluid that's actually going to be produced in the ciliary body, and it's going to fill this chamber here. Here, next, we're going to look at the uvea, which is also known as the tunica vasculosa, which is made up of your choroid, the ciliary body, and your iris. And as we take a look at the iris, we're going to see how it constricts and dilates and reacts to light. So first, we're going to shine a very bright light onto your iris, and it's going to constrict that iris, letting less light in. You're having very bright light shown on there, so we don't want to get too much light in there, so it's going to constrict. And then we take that bright light away, and it's going to go back to a normal size. And then we're going to make the room darker, so it's going to dilate, letting more light in so that you can process as much as you can. Also, if you go to an eye doctor appointment, they'll put dilating drops in, making that pupil get really big so the doctor can take a look in there and do their exam. And then again, once the dilating drops wear off, your pupil will go back to a normal size, which is about 3 millimeters. So that was your iris forming part of your uvea. Next, we're going to take a look at the ciliary body. So the ciliary body is where the aqueous humor is going to be produced. So that's going to fill your anterior chamber, and it's going to come from the ciliary body. Here, since your aqueous humor is being produced, some problems can arise. Your intraocular pressure can get really high if too much of that aqueous humor is building up and it's not draining out properly, which can lead to blindness if it damages your optic nerve due to that pressure. Next, we're going to take a look here at your crystalline lens, which is going to finish focusing the light for your eye so that it hits your retina and creates a nice clear image. So in just a little bit, we'll look at how accommodation changes the shape of your lens, that those suspensory ligaments are going to be attached to a capsule that keeps your lens in place. Those ligaments can get weaker as you age, which is why usually when you age you need reading glasses because the accommodation doesn't work as it should. Here the suspensory ligaments known as zonules are shaded in blue, a little hard to see, but I'll still label them, and they're still shaded blue. They're just really small, and again those are attached to a capsule that keeps your lens in place. So here in accommodation, those muscles are going to relax. They're going to make that lens fatter. Those suspensory ligaments are going to get loose, making that lens fat. So again, as we return to a little bit more of a normal position, your lens will get less thick. Those muscles will tighten a little bit, and if we look at something far away, those ligaments are going to get tight, and they're going to make your lens a lot thinner, letting you focus on something that's a lot farther away. Again, as you age, those get a little bit weaker, which means you usually need reading glasses. So we took here at the crystalline lens, and then the light is going to go through your vitreous. That vitreous humor is going to be very thick, very jelly-like, and it's going to give your eye some shape, some structure. And as we age, this vitreous can kind of shrink a little bit, and when it shrinks you can get little strands called floaters, the little protein strands that float around in that vitreous. Also, when it shrinks, it can tug on your retina a little bit, and when it tugs, it'll actually trigger your retina, causing little flashes of light. The only problem is that when it tugs on that retina, we don't want it to tug so much that it tears that retina. So if you're having flashes of lights, floaters, you want to make sure you see an eye doctor. They can get some scans, some photos of the back of your eye, make sure you haven't torn anything as that vitreous shrinks. And again, that's totally natural, happens with age. Sometimes some eye conditions can cause it to also be a problem. So again, watch out for those flashing lights, floaters. That's all happening here because of the vitreous. And that vitreous attaches to the retina, which is where all the light shines onto. It's going to get processed there by the retina. So here, that bright light is going to show the macula, which is the central portion of your vision, and then the fovea here, which is that little dip right in the most central part of your vision, which is actually causes a little dip. We'll take a look at that in a second. So here in your retina, light's going to be processed by all the different layers, and it's going to get turned into signals that'll be sent back to your brain. Here we're going to take a look at an OCT. So you get these at an optometrist office sometimes, an ophthalmologist office, and it'll be a scan that takes a look at all the layers of your retina, making sure there's no fluid or anything going on with any of the layers. So here we're going to see the photoreceptor layers, the inner and the outer. Here's where you're going to find your rods and cones. So your rods are going to help you see in dark, dim light. They're less sensitive, so they're only going to be able to see in a grayscale, black and white. And then your cones are going to be able to see in very bright light. Those are more sensitive, so they'll be able to give you color vision. Sometimes if you have color blindness, it's because you're missing some cones. There's red cones, blue cones, and green cones. If they aren't in the right ratio, you'll have some sort of color blindness. Here we're going to take a look at a fundus photo, which is kind of like a color photo of your retina. That dark spot in the middle is going to be your fovea. Around it is your macula. You can also take a look at the arteries and the veins of your eye, make sure nothing's leaking and everything's healthy. And you can actually see that white spot off to the right is going to be your optic disc. That leads back to your optic nerve. And there you'll also find your cup, which is kind of like a little dip that goes back with your optic nerve. We always want to make sure that the cup to disc ratio is healthy and not indicative of anything. So we just took a look at the retina where the light is going to be processed. If we take that away, you see your arteries, your veins, and then I'm going to highlight here the optic disc again in blue, and that's going to be your optic nerve, and it's going to go back and take all those signals to be processed by your brain and your occipital lobe. Since your eye is round, we're going to meet the choroid again, which surrounds your eye, and then we're going to find your sclera again, which is going to, again, because it's round, it's going to meet everything back there, and it's going to close that globe, keep everything in. Again, a little hole for your optic nerve that goes out of, which actually causes a blind spot, which I can put a link down below to help you find that blind spot, which is a pretty cool thing to see. Because of your optic nerve, there's no retinal cells, there's nothing, no light being processed there where your optic nerve is. So again, that sclera is going to finish closing your eye, and here we're going to take a look at, go back up to the front of the eye again, to your conjunctiva, which is the thin mucous membrane that covers the sclera. If you've ever thought you could lose something in the back of your eye, you actually can't. That sclera is going to go over, go above into the inner part of your eyelid, and it's going to then connect to the external skin of your eyelid. So that's actually going to close off the front of your eye, keeping the back portion of the eye completely separate from the external part of your eye. So if you've ever been scared that you're going to lose something back there, like your contact lens, or if something flies into your eye, you think it's going to go back there, it actually can't, because the conjunctiva keeps everything separate, the external portion from the internal portion. Again, a mucous membrane protects the body from the external factors. So if you ever lose a contact lens out there, you can just go to your ophthalmology office, your optometrist office, and they can get that out there, because it doesn't go behind your eye, it just kind of stays behind your eyelids. So if you've ever been scared that that'll happen, it actually can't, so no need to worry about that. So we took a look at the layers of the eye, and we followed light as it hits all those different layers up until it hits the retina, and then gets sent over to be processed by your brain.